Hello, boys and girls. Weather report for the 25th of March.
Hello.
Hello. And I got how many days I was old wrong the other day. I had gotten like 10 ahead of myself. I'm 25,646. So I got 20 days from now for my 666 birthday, which I'm hoping everybody attends my birthday party when I turn 25,666. Yeah. So that'll be a big event. I'll be all grown up. I'll have the mark of the beast. So David, were you in attendance last night as well as for our 11 o'clock today?
Oh yeah. I've been listening in. My work's a little bit slow lately the past week or so. So yeah, I've had plenty of time to keep an eye on things.
Do you think
I enjoy it all.
Okay. Did anything make any sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, you know how it is. There's an ism for everything, right?
Oh yeah.
Scientism, naturalism, and honestly, I don't think about this. Well, I do think about these kind of things a lot now because, obviously these conversations are brought up all the time. But prior to entering this YouTube world, I never thought of those kind of things, really. It just wasn't something I really never studied or thought about. But, so all the conversations you tend to analyze yourself, right?
Yeah.
You tend to say, okay, what does that actually mean? What am I? Do I adhere to scientism? Am I a naturalist? Am I a this? Am I a that? So you kind of think about, it's all, that's why I'm here. It's all interesting things,
My rule is to pick the most unpopular ism and adhere to it. And then as soon as somebody starts calling me that, I'll deny it.
yeah, that's a good way. Yeah. Now that you're talking about this scientism, I enjoy science. That's one of my favorite subject of mine, of course. So I'm thinking about it, and I'm looking at Danny's reactions, or thinking about Danny. I'm seeing Danny's reactions inside chat, and I just thought of this probably 5 or 10 minutes before I entered the stream started. I'm like, he's all triggered over speed, adhering to scientism, and I'm thinking to myself, who gives a fuck? Like, why are you so? Seriously, if the man wants to adhere to that, what the hell's wrong with? I don't. So I don't know. I thought I'd bring that up. Like, why? I don't get that.
I do tend to trigger Danny.
Oh yeah, certainly.
And Danny triggers me a little too. He's a little weenie.
Oh yeah.
He's a little. I gotta admit, he triggers me. But yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. The thing is, it's really easy to talk to Danny about what he believes. And Danny is a very, very good teacher of philosophy. And that's what I really like to do more of on his channel, is explain some of these common terms and ideas and all that stuff. But Danny can't seem to understand anybody else's views. I don't know.
Yeah. He seems to be very critical of other people's views.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I guess, we all are to a degree, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. What the fuck? So, I don't know. What did we run into? So, tomorrow, we got to do the conclusion and the third or the final part of the hot spring hypothesis paper by Demer and Damer. And Bruce Damer sent me a little feedback on that. And he said he really appreciated that we were digging into it as well as we were. And I think he actually listened to it. So that's cool. That's a good thing, I think. And we're hoping to have him on the channel at some point. And so far, that might happen. But he has some interesting ideas on consciousness. If you listen to his talks that he does.
Really?
Yeah, he blends abiogenesis and this whole remarkable journey from rocks to conscious, and he blends it in with a spirituality in much the same way that I try to do. I don't know if I will agree with him on everything, but I suspect I might.
Wow,
But
that sounds very interesting. Yeah.
he's a very
Just
interesting.
don't call him a weenie if you do have a disagreement.
I won't call him. I'll try not to call Tanner a weenie. There's only one weenie on this channel, and that's Danny. But he's a weenie supreme. The king of the Frankenjism. Weenie supreme, king of the Frankenjism. That's what we're calling philosophical syllogisms that basically pretend to find something out about the universe through putting a bunch of words together and claiming it's logic. It's logic. I have a problem with those kind of arguments always, because I have never found one syllogism where I agree or don't agree with every premise. I mean, it's so hard to tell. You look at the premise, and then when you realize where they're trying to lead you, it's like, no, fuck no, I don't agree with premise number one. You basically beg the question from the get-go, which is so easy to do with that shit. That kind of philosophy doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry. I prefer just to sit around and kick things around. Because I got an idea about knowledge, but that I use as a working idea of knowledge. But fuck, I don't. I mean, we can define it in 100 different ways, and I could be all wrong about some of the ways I define it. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's philosophy. We're just fucking around. Correct?
I think that's the proper approach right there, honestly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, digging and, just looking at it from this side and that side and turning it around, looking at it from the other side. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the way I know Lawrence Krauss described it as philosophy is good at coming up with the right questions, being able to. So that was one of the ways he described it. He's not a big philosopher. He's kind of picking on it a little bit. He says that, it hasn't added anything to, science, or hasn't made any contributions, according to him. It's good, except for the fact that it's good for coming up with the right kinds of questions.
I booted myself. So,
anyway,
did I miss anything? What did I miss?
I was just talking about how Lawrence Krauss views it. He kind of picks on. I don't know if you've ever seen,
Yeah, I heard most of that. I heard most of that.
Yeah. So that's all. And I don't know. I kind of view it similar to that. I think I don't know. Anytime I've all the different philosophers on YouTube, of course, there aren't too many, but I've listened to what's his name, Ozzy Mendez.
Oh,
is that his name? And Alex Malpass. And some of those. So I've listened to some of that stuff, and so a little bit. And to me, I don't know. It seems to like go around in circles. You seem to just talk and talk and talk, and you discuss terms and things like that. But whenever you get into a real philosophical conversation, it seems to go on for hours, and at the end of it, you sit there and say, "Okay, where did we get? Kind of nowhere. Kind of just went around and around and around."
That's what I felt last night, and I was really disappointed with that because I actually had a talk about naturalism, my view of naturalism with Ozzy, and he had a few places where he pushed back, and I would love to have had more talks, but that was about a year ago. I should probably ring his bell again, and because his critique was, which I can't remember exactly what he pushed back on, but I take him very fucking seriously. I mean, if Ozzy pushes back, you listen, right? And Melpass too.
Right. When those guys are like kind of more or less teaching, or I guess a more of a discussion, teaching type of conversation, then you get a lot out of philosophy. You kind of learn a lot. But if somebody is actually having an argument back and forth, it never seems to get anywhere. Like with Danny, I mean, you look at some of the conversation, like if you have a one-on-one conversation, you notice with Danny, right? You've had several and they go very well, right? But if you get into a group setting and you're actually having a philosophical type argument, it never goes well. It just seems to go around and around and around, and it never gets anywhere. So that's what kind of drives me crazy about it.
I've been very good about asking Danny what his view is, and that's probably what I should have done with Immutable last night. But then I had Immutable and Leo, and Immutable wanted to fight with me about scientism. But I should have asked Immutable, how in the hell do you define knowledge, and what do you see it? And Leo came on, and then I listened to Leo, and I missed something that Leo said, and Leo, with his justified true belief, was correct, and he had a good point to make, and I missed it. Because I was kind of at that point losing consciousness, to be frank. After going around and around with Immutable on this thing about knowledge being a continuum from basically bodily knowledge to scientific knowledge. It's a continuum, and there's a lot of gray areas in between. So I left that, but then I missed part of what Leo said. And Leo's, when you listen to him carefully, and when he's putting out a point, he's pretty fucking good at it, and he's pretty crisp, in the stuff he comes up with. So I really, that was the point where I kind of decided, well, we're almost done for the night. So I don't know. But,
yeah, it's kind of funny. You just probably just half an hour ago, I just happened to watch one of Leo's. I don't know if it's his most recent video. The one that he just put out was only the one on time. Was it kind of like how to determine the age of the universe? That little video he just
that was just about an hour ago. I linked that in the description of this video if anybody wants to go watch that, because I didn't get a notification for it until it was over. It was only about, I think, a few minutes long. Yeah,
it was only like a 10-minute video, and I just happened to watch it just 15 minutes, half an hour before this started. It popped up on my, notification. So I watched it, and same thing, what you're saying. Very smart young man. I have to give him credit. Boy, he does well.
Dessel, you have an argument. Is it a Frankengism?
So that's a new term to me. I haven't heard it until you just used it today. So can you tell me what a Frankengism really is?
Scott just invented it a few hours ago. Oh, did I say that out loud, Scott? we were talking about I call sometimes syllogistic arguments for philosophical positions are sort of like Frankensteinian reductions of reality that appear to me as being like Frankenstein monsters. So we were trying to come up with a name for Franken syllogism or something, and one of us came up with Frankengism. I don't know if he wants to own it or take credit for it, but it's spelled with a G. God damn it, it's not spelled with a J.
It's open source.
Yeah. Are you going to own it, Scott?
It's public domain. It's okay.
Okay, public domain. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, so, I can give you a Frankengism about scientism.
Okay.
So the criticism that Immutable and Leo were giving you last night against scientism, the idea pretty much that it's self-refuting, because the idea is, the only way that we can know things according to scientism as it's usually defined is through science. Well, that thesis itself, did you discover that through science? And they consider that to be an argument that shows that it's self-refuting, like Leo was saying, in the same way that the logical positivists and their verifiability criterion is self-refuting. So I think that there's an argument against that, though, that works pretty well, which is, anybody who...
I have one, but okay. Go ahead.
Anybody who discusses this issue, most of them are willing to grant that science is a reliable way to understand, things about the world or to get at the truth. So if it's the case that science is a reliable method, that's all you really need in order to proceed with this argument. And the argument pretty much runs like this, which is that if you're granting that science is a reliable way of getting at the truth, then what you can do is you can take all the other different methods that you're suggesting we can use to get at the truth, and you can evaluate them from a scientific perspective. So you could, for example, there's this old book called Handbook of Atheistic Apologetics by a lay philosopher, Francois Tremblay. And what he does is he goes and he basically like analyzes faith and revelation to see how well these things do as methods for arriving at the truth. And he assesses them from a more scientific standpoint about how well they function as methods. And what he ends up with at the end is basically the conclusion that these other methods don't work well. And that would end up leading you to a scientific position where all you have left is science that works well as a method. Right. So that's basically like one response to the idea that it's self-refuting. If you take the method itself as reliable and you use that reliable method to gauge the reliability of the other suggested methods and find out that those other methods actually suck, the only method that you're left with is science. And so that would be one response to the idea that it's self-refuting.
Yeah, my pushback would be very similar in that I will, okay, fine. So we have not established that science is the best method yet. So let's assume that it is, and let's go ahead and move forward and see what it can explain. And if it explains everything and there's basically nothing left to explain, then we go back and now it's verified. Basically, you assume the premise and then run to the conclusion and then go ahead and use that as basically a verification. I mean, if everything that flows from it is true, then obviously the premise is true. Well, yeah, it's not necessarily, but.
So, I mean, and the last thing I want to throw out there is, hold on. Never mind. Give me a minute on that because I just lost my point in my head there. Maybe I'll remember it.
I need to look up that author. Atheistic what? Francis Tremblay?
It's a Handbook of Atheistic Apologetics by Francois Tremblay. And I'm not even sure whether or not it's still in print because this is going back like something like 15 years now. And he wasn't a very popular guy to begin with. He was a lay philosopher back in the day when I knew him. This is, I don't know whether or not you guys ever listened or heard of the show Live with the Infidel Guy with Reginald Finley. Back in the day, it was like a pretty popular atheist show. Yeah. And there was a pretty big atheist community that centered around that program. And that's where I first got involved with the whole atheism versus theism thing. And I met a bunch of people through that community, and he was one of them.
Trying to find the book. You can't even. Oh, there it is, Francois Tremblay. So available on Amazon.com yet, I think. Oh, let me see here. Paperback, yeah, $26. 3 used from 17. Short Handbook of Atheist Apologetics. I'll link it in my description. Wait a minute. Wait. Damn. I'm working on it. Okay. I'm working on it, so I can't be talking about it because I'm working on it.
Yeah, it's not, in my opinion, it's not like the best book in the world. He has a lot of arguments that I disagree with. But I did think that portion of the book where he's talking about epistemology and gauging the different ways at which we can try to arrive at the truth, I thought that was, even though it was a simple discussion, I still thought it was pretty insightful.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. So for the argument that I use for naturalism, basically I assume naturalism, and then I go ahead and see where naturalism gets us. And if naturalism satisfies all of the questions that I had, then I'm going to affirm naturalism by that satisfaction, right? I think it's the best we can do because you can't reach outside of ourselves in the universe and know for anything for certain. So it's the best we can do. I don't know. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're going for. I'm a little bit like, I think even though it seemed like you guys were kind of disagreeing with each other yesterday when you were talking about how there's no such thing as truth with a capital T, no such thing as certainty and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think that Leo and Immutable would agree with you there. And I would largely agree. It's just that I think that there are certain things that, that can get you to that point. And I would, when we're talking about truth with a capital T, that gets really tricky because you can define that in different ways. But basically what it would come down to is something that can't be doubted, something that is absolutely certain. And I think that there are certain things that could get you to that point. But largely speaking, I don't think that you're dealing with certainty.
Yeah. The big thing that I came up with a while ago, years ago, was reality with a capital R. And like when you talk about reality with a capital R, you're trying to reach out into metaphysics, and you're trying to come up with some metaphysical solution. And you're saying, oh, we could be a brain and a vat, we could be this, we could be that. So there's a pushback against reality with a capital R, because we can never know. Like, just look at physics, right? We have this cosmos that we know with these physical laws. Well, we could well be embedded in some greater system that has no physical laws or very different physical laws, or an infinite number of, systems like this, where time and space and stuff don't even exist. So we can't reach out there. So reality with a capital R would be metaphysics, would be one of those metaphysical platforms that explain this cosmos, right? Okay. And I would call that M1, or the metaphysical realm, that sort of thing. We could be brain in a vat. We could be, something created by God. We could be embedded in a greater, weirder universe, that sort of thing. But what we mean by reality is, I mean that I can pick this cup up and take a drink, and, basically I know, this is reality. This is where we get it from. What is real, right? This cup is real. I can verify it with you. I can verify it with myself by putting it down and picking it up again, or drinking with it. So you get all of these basically hundreds of thousands of pieces of information that tells you whether or not what you got, the proposition you have, is real or not, right? This cup exists. Who would deny that this cup exists? I don't know.
I don't know. Hello Kitty isn't really part of my worldview.
Oh, really? How about this one? The other half of the Hello Kitty.
So, does this avatar exist, you think?
I don't know. This is
in the real world, right? I don't think this. It's Avatar.
I've talked about this on a forum for years. It's my red kitty qualia cup. So if you wanna think about red qualia, I always use this cup as an example, particularly to point out that with the red qualia, there are some other things happening here. The kitty, basically, it's more complicated than just having a red qualia. Nobody has ever had a red qualia and nothing else, right? You can't just have a red qualia. And I was trying to make this big fucking balloon, and paint it all red, so I could immerse myself in just one color to see how long I could see the color if that's all I could see, right? But I never pulled it off properly. I always had shading, but I want to get into a room where there's nothing but one particular shade, and I want to sit there, hopefully breathing, as was a problem with some of my devices, but hopefully breathing so that I can determine whether or not I want to feel what the quality of red is, if that's all I'm getting, right? I don't have any comparative colors, right? Because I think there's a problem with that. I think it will very quickly become gray or nothing or something weird. I don't know. Has anybody ever done this?
That's very interesting. That's exactly what I thought, that if you were in that environment for long enough, that the color would almost disappear. You would block it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody's ever done that experiment. That's interesting.
I'd be willing to do it for like 12 hours if I could, get but it's really hard to do, because if you have any light at all, you'd almost have to be in a round, sphere. So you had no shading, and you couldn't see your own shadow, and you couldn't see, because I can kind of see my face. So I'd have to have things on my eyes. So that's all I could see. And it'd be a bitch. I may never come out. It may be just like Kafai's heroic dose of mushrooms. Who knows? You know, we might discover something new.
You ever had sensory deprivation?
I have not, and I would like. Well, it sounds kind of boring. So, you know, and I have a pretty short attention span. That's why I don't know if I could stay in that room long enough to really. But I mean, I just want to experience it. You know, just what it would be like to just experience one color. So certainty and doubt are not epistemic notions. I wonder what that means. What does that mean? Unpack that for me, Dessel.
You got me. Certainty and doubt are not epistemic notions. They sound like epistemic notions to me. So I just don't know what Danny's really getting at there. But
No, that
I'm not
it's
looking
okay.
at the live chat. Yeah, Danny, please explain
Dan,
what
you
you
don't
mean.
come
I
in and
guess.
start over talking.
I do what I want, Speed. You can just kick me out if you can't.
Okay. Danny needs to learn some rules. Okay, what were you saying,
Right.
Dessel?
I don't know what he's trying to get at there because, when we talk about certainty and doubt and stuff like that, usually those are part of the conversation about epistemology. So, but I'm not looking at the live chat, so I don't know what he means in particular by it. He could be getting at something specific. I just don't know.
Okay, so Danny's turn to talk now.
Why would he behave like that?
I don't know.
He
let's
seems
bring
to
on
have
our-
a hair across his ass. Jesus.
I know. Okay, Danny.
No, it is wide consensus amongst epistemologists that certainty doesn't enter into the formula of knowledge. Very, very wide consensus. What certainty is, or what doubt is a particular psychological disposition towards a belief or a proposition. It's not simply, it has nothing to do in the calculus of whether you have knowledge, right? You can be very certain about something and not know it. In fact, be so far from the truth, right?
Oh, okay.
And at the same time, you can doubt something and actually be right on top of it, right? You have knowledge, okay? So certainty and doubt don't play in to that calculus. Now, what some people might be talking about when they say certainty, like 100% or absolute certainty, they're talking about necessary truths that couldn't be otherwise, that can't be false. A good example is the law of identity. Look, a pizza is a pizza. That's necessarily true, right? But you could actually have doubts about identity. People, there are paraconsistent logics that doubt other kinds of very fundamental rules of logic, and they might talk about their confidence levels about those sorts of things. But the point is that doesn't do anything to diffuse the necessity of the truth.
Okay, but how would you respond to a person from New York who came to Minnesota and said that's not a pizza?
That a pizza is not a pizza?
That the Minnesota pizza is not a pizza.
Well, I would just have to ask what they mean. They might be equivocating on
fucking
pizza.
with you, Danny. Fucking with you, Danny.
Yeah, but if you Google certainty, not Google.
Yeah, okay,
SET,
no, I see what you mean. Certainty and doubt are not connected to the actual truth itself. They're just, basically they'd be states of mind or states of your belief, basically, or your that makes sense. Okay, now we understand.
Okay.
That. Thank you.
So certainty should be more like a most likeliness.
Well,
certainty does play into what we call subjective probability, which is like, it seems like if I go outside, it might be, I'm pretty certain that it's going to be 70 degrees out, given that it's been 70 degrees the whole week. Well, there might be, you're just confident about something because you have a justification for thinking it so, right? Typically when people have a good reason, they're confident in their knowledge, but it just doesn't necessarily follow that if you have a good reason that you have to be confident about your knowledge.
Yeah, I think that's plausible. That makes a lot of sense to me. I don't really have any problem with anything that you just said there. When you were talking before about certainty and doubt not being epistemic notions, I thought you were trying to suggest that that those two things are completely irrelevant to the field of epistemology. But that's not apparently what you're saying. So
they just don't enter the calculus.
All right. I think that works okay by me based on what you just said so far.
Bug is lonely.
It's true that like epistemologists, because it's intuitive that like if you're certain, especially when you're talking about things that everyone agrees on. But so epistemologists do take a look at it. There is a question in epistemology, in terms of like what certainty is and whether it factors into the JTB calculation. But the consensus is that it doesn't.
So what I said was
I
most
don't,
likeliness was right. Was
Say that
most
one more
Sorry,
time.
what did you ask?
is saying most likely is a better term?
But you see, I think if you say
Certainty.
most likely, you might be justified, right? If like typically when people say most likely, they're operating on a prior knowledge, and I think that can serve as justification.
Well, there's a level of certainty and a level of reality that, like with my cup, that I would call maximal. Basically, as certain as I can get, and I'm fine with that. And I don't think you could put a capital C or a capital R on that certainty or that reality. But I level it down to not requiring so much from certainty or reality, to require less from it than that sort of absolute, pristine, godly idea of certainty or reality.
Yeah, like I think you're talking about like the Cartesian certainty, right? And that has to do with necessary, right? That what Descartes wanted was like a kind of certainty, which was the kind of certainty that if you believe something, it just could not be false.
Yeah.
And that's what I was speaking to, that some people might be talking about that when they're talking about absolute certainty or 100% certainty. They might be talking about that.
When you guys
not a fan.
when you guys are talking about justified true belief, you guys aren't trying to say that Gettier counterexamples don't apply, right? Because I've heard a few times on this stream defining knowledge as the JTB account, but nobody ever mentions Gettier and like trying to find the whole like elusive fourth condition.
I think Gettier cases are damning. I don't think there's a way around them, and so I just kind of use JTB for practical purposes.
Okay, yeah, because I think that Gettier counterexamples like they merit discussion at the very least, and
absolutely,
I'm not so sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I'm not so sure. I think that they're like insurmountable objections to like being able to understand, roughly speaking, what we mean by knowledge. It's been a little while since I've studied epistemology, but even though people had a problem with, for example, Keith Layer's indefeasibility criterion as the fourth condition, I still think that like that was a plausible response, and people have tried to present
Fourth criteria.
Whoa!
Whoa!
What just happened?
Whoa! Say that one more time. Somebody just said something and I missed it.
Yeah, Danny had a problem with this. What is the fourth condition for the Gettier?
So there's a bunch of different candidates for like what the fourth condition is to understand propositional knowledge. You have people like Keith Layer, who says that you have to have an indefeasible reason, something that can't be defeated, and that's his fourth condition. But then you have a bunch of other suggestions as well, like Alvin Goldman has his causal account.
Yeah, but that's archaic, right? The Goldman, like the Barn. I think the Barn case is supposed to be a counterexample to the Goldman.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then there's one last thing I want to throw out there, which is that in what is it called? There's a particular book that discusses Alvin Plantinga's account of Warrant. It's by Jonathan Kvanvig, where basically like it's an anthology of different philosophers responding to Plantinga's account of Warrant. And in that book, there's a particular essay written by this fella who is perfectly happy to have like a kind of fuzzy account of propositional knowledge, where we recognize that we need further criterions, or further conditions, but it's kind of context dependent on what's going on. And I was totally happy to stick by that too, where we don't really need to have like this uber specific condition by condition account of what we mean by propositional knowledge. It can be kind of context dependent, depending on our situation. But overall, like, he had a general picture that he argued was clear enough for our purposes. And I kind of agreed with him there.
I think it's
So
a popular
so
view, right? Like the contextualist view of knowledge.
Hang on a second, Dessel. When you mentioned authors and books, could you try to put them in a private chat for me?
Yeah, sure. I'll try to find the particular book I'm thinking of. It's a book about Plantinga's account of Warrant, and it's by Jonathan Kvanvig. I'll see whether or not I can find it really quick.
Okay. Anyway, that just helps. So, who left again? Somebody disappeared.
David, I have a question. Why did you care enough to point out my behavior? I'm just curious.
Scott.
I thought it was inappropriate.
Oh, okay. I'm just making fun of you.
Why you don't? Obviously, you don't think so, right?
Yeah.
No. But the point is that you were asking me why I care about conversations like this and like correcting speed, because it's inappropriate, isn't it?
No. What's inappropriate is you coming in and over talking people just right out of the gate.
Right.
Without,
I don't know what that means.
I know you don't, and that's what we're trying to teach you. That's like
You're
when you get
what it means
removed.
to be inappropriate.
Well, when I put you in the corner, you're supposed to go there and reflect on your ways. And
I don't know what that means.
I know, Danny. We keep trying, but we'll get there, Danny. We'll be okay.
I don't know where we're going.
It's Warrant and Contemporary Epistemology by Jonathan Kvanvig. It's an anthology of different philosophers responding to Plantinga, and Plantinga has a response to each one of them in that book. It's very similarly organized as the other book, Naturalism Defeated, which is another analysis of Plantinga, taking a look at his evolutionary argument against naturalism, structured the exact same way, where you have an anthology of different philosophers basically taking a critical approach to his position, and then he has like a 70-page response to each and every single one of them. In this book, it's the exact same thing.
So does Plantinga challenge anybody to a boxing match?
He might challenge somebody to a rock climbing competition. I know he likes to do that.
I think he's kind of a woo-woo guy, isn't he? Plantinga?
No, a lot of people respect Plantinga.
No, but
Yeah,
I mean, he's a woo-woo.
No, he's highly respected in the field. A lot of people disagree with him.
I mean, a lot of
woo-woo people are typically not respected, right?
Really?
What's the Deepak Chopra? Not very well respected in the field. But
well, he's a fucking tool. But that's different.
No, that's what I take woo-woo to be. But that's like the paradigmatic example. No, a lot of people disagree with Plantinga, no doubt, right? But Plantinga is highly respected, highly methodical. Very technical, very well thought out, despite his conclusions.
Well, you don't think Deepak Chopra is highly respected by a lot of people?
No, not by the academia. No.
Well, yeah, but by a lot of people, right? Like, okay, would you say that President Trump isn't respected?
I don't really care if a 3-year-old respects Deepak Chopra.
Right. Okay. That's what I'm saying.
You're saying that whether the masses respect Deepak Chopra, I think that's even contentious. Most people don't know Plantinga.
What's that?
Yeah, Plantinga definitely is well respected in academia. I think that he's vastly overrated by the majority of people, but I'm not going to deny that he is respected by many people in the academic world.
Yeah.
Didn't he win what was the award he won in 7? I think it was 16 or 17. I forgot.
I'm not sure. I mean, I see stuff like that all the time, though, where a lot of people who I don't think deserve any recognition get way too much of it. So,
no, I plan to read all of Plantinga's books at some point.
Yeah, he's a very fun author. He's got like this. He's got this kind of like dry wit sense of humor that you can enjoy as you read him. But it's just. For me, his account of epistemology is just not intuitive at all, and some of the suggestions that he comes up with, like the sensus divinitatis and everything like that, I think that that's just fairy tale. But that's just me.
Sure, yeah, but I've actually heard the opposite in terms of reading him. I heard he's very, very hard to read. I also heard he's a really nice guy. Like he responds to emails, although I think he's coming down with dementia, but that's a rumor. He's like in his 80s. But no, I heard he's a really nice guy too, very approachable as well.
What would you recommend as the go-to book for him?
Probably. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Danny. I was just going to throw in there that the only time I've ever experienced Plantinga as being like difficult to read in any way is when he's describing his ontological argument. But if you go through his work on epistemology, I highly doubt, Danny, that you'll have any difficulty at all in understanding what he's saying. It's pretty clear. So I don't think that
the nature of necessity, is that where he goes over the modal ontological argument?
He gets into necessity there, and he also has a particular short book on ontological arguments. So you might have, that will get into more technical material, and you might have difficulty there. Sure, that's, that has to deal with modal logic and stuff like that. It can get technical. But all of his stuff on epistemology, dealing with Warrant and his take on various epistemological theories and stuff like that you can find in his Warrant trilogies. I think the
context of saying that was like for someone the context in which I heard that was like in a Christian setting where like most Christians don't know anything about philosophy, and so when they try to read something about apologetics, the suggestion was don't go straight to Plantinga. But I didn't know. I think that was the context in which I heard it.
Yeah, if you've never been exposed to epistemology at all, then of course it'll be kind of difficult to understand. And then to Speed, there are a lot of different books that discuss like Plantinga's overall position. I believe James Sennett. I haven't read this book because I just read Plantinga directly. But if you want like an account of Plantinga, I think let me look it up. I can't remember whether or not it's James Sennett or maybe Kvanvig again, who has this book, Alvin Plantigna, a Reader. And I think that he gives like a general overall like perspective of everything that Plantinga's got going on. I'll look for that book really quick too, and I'll put the title in the side chat. I haven't read that one again, but if you're looking for a kind of general summary of Plantinga's quote unquote contributions to different philosophical fields of study, that might be one you would be interested in starting with. I'll go and look it up.
Is it the Analytic Theist and Alvin Plantigna Reader?
Yep, that's the book I'm thinking of.
By James F. Who the fuck? Oh, who wrote it? Sennett. Yeah, Sennett. Okay, thanks. Cool,
yeah, no problem.
I'll put that in the... Damn it, Loki. I got a cat problem. I have a raccoon problem too sometimes, but not during the day. Okay.
You need to cut their food allotments in half, dude.
I have been trying to cut the raccoons back and because I have so many generations and all that the little ones I don't think are learning to hunt properly.
They're just really big raccoons.
Yeah, that can be the danger of feeding them is they don't take care of themselves, and then
then if I go on vacation they all die. But
right, yeah, exactly.
Well, is that necessarily a bad thing?
Not if you don't like them. Yeah, if you really care for them, then yes, it is a bad thing.
Well, I like them as a species, but I'm not.
You don't want them to suffer.
We don't need the species to multiply any goddamn more than it already has. So.
Do they cause any damage around the house at all, or no? They're pretty good.
They break into my fence all the time, but I actually look at that as them being engineers that are helping me test the validity of my cat fence. So they're like quality control for my cat fence to make sure nothing bad can get in and hurt my cats. So if there's a hole, the raccoons will find it. They found another one the other day, and I have no idea where, because this fence is it's like an armory. It's like Fort Knox. I mean, but they got in.
Well, evidently not.
What's that?
I said evidently not.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, raccoons are like
they
super ninjas, man.
When it comes to food, if they want to get in there, they're gonna find a way.
Right. If a raccoon can't get in, then nothing can get in. They actually ought to use raccoons to test security for Fort Knox. No shit. Because they would find a way. I don't know. They're pretty cool. I don't know. I like them. They're really intelligent. They're extremely mechanical. They're very, very aware. They watch my eyes constantly. They're constantly looking at my facial expressions, which is pretty bizarre. You know, we know dogs do that, but for raccoons to do it, it indicates there's some intelligence there. Okay, all saved. So cool. Crickets. Nobody wants to fight about anything.
No, I'm enjoying a nice pizza, so I don't feel nobody's trying to take it, so I'm not feeling like fighting.
Yeah.
I was
I'm
just
gonna drink coffee.
I was just rudely interrupted by somebody in the house. So
I have this cat problem. Hi, kitty. Say hi. Say hi. Say wave to everybody. See how happy he is to say hi. That's Loki. It's okay, Loki. I've disturbed your slumber. But your slumber happens to be on top of my mouse.
So what do you have? One mean cat and one nice cat? Is that how you describe them all the time? I hate when you talk about
when I first got them, they were kittens and they were rescues. They found them under a porch in February in northern Minnesota. And when I brought them home, Loki went and hid in my library for weeks and I couldn't find him. I had to push all of my books in because I had them all flush and nice, you know, and I had to push them all in to flush him out. And then he would hiss at me and try to claw me every time I came near him. So it took me 6 months to turn him into the kind of cat that would come up under my chin and snuggle, you know. So I had to work with him for 6 months, and Thor immediately was under my chin, right? The other one. So we named them Thor and Loki. And Loki also bit my friend Rhonda, and it cost us like almost I don't know, I think $600-700 to get her fixed. She was petting him and he just nailed her and it got infected and it was just a nightmare. So she calls him the evil kitty. He's pretty evil.
Yeah. There's certain cats, I think that those are probably a rare thing, but there are definitely certain cats that have that disposition. You know, they just behave that way. You know, I think they.
Yeah, they were litter mates, but he probably got scared or something happened to him where he ended up with, you know, a lot of paranoia. So, and both of them are really paranoid. If I take out a garbage bag or if I do anything out of the ordinary, they just fly under the waterbed. You know, they're just immediately gone. The waterbed is their go-to safe spot. So, we have a drawing, and I forget. Loki, get off that mouse! Goddamn cat. But anyway, not too much going on today. I don't know. There was some stuff between Praise and Jay Pasick last night. That looked interesting.
As a matter of fact, I was going to bring that up, but I was waiting I didn't want to just abruptly change the conversation or the topic.
Now's the time. What was happening?
Yeah, well, I poke in on Praise's channel every now and then, and I happened to poke in last night, very late. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I actually went on it and said, see what's going on. And those people, they're a little crazy. There was we've talked about Algotha there. He's getting a little really off the wall. Yeah. He, like you said, you talked about him the other day. He seemed very reasonable.
Is he that guy from New Zealand?
No. That's Jason or George Bond and Gavin. Yeah, let's say there's George Bond, there's Gavin, and there's the one from Faithful, Honest, and True from Tasmania. They're all a little bit unhinged.
How about Ezzard?
Ezzard.
Ezzard. Yeah.
He's
what is it about?
So
repeat that, Scott.
Is his moniker there Faithful, Honest, and True? That Ezzard guy?
Yeah, Jason Ezzard. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the name straight.
Yeah.
What is it about Argotha that's getting unhinged? I haven't listened to him lately. I haven't been on like the internet by and large, but I've definitely been not keeping up with any of the creationist stuff. So what's going on with Argatha that's so unhinged?
Well, there was one conversation they had. This was actually not last night. You know, honestly, I can't even remember what the hell the conversation was last night. But there was another conversation, probably. This is going back 4 or 5 days ago. They were talking about the age of consent, and it was pretty disturbing. That one was pretty disturbing. I only listened to a little bit of it. And Erica was also there. You know, she was in chat. I was in chat. You know, we were listening at the same time, and the conversation really got a little disturbing. They thought that the age of consent should be lowered, and 13, 14. Well, I don't know if they got down to 13, but I think they were dropped it to like 14 or 15 or something like that, and it was a little disturbing. So there was that. And, he is really starting to reveal his true, what would you call it? His true views, or his, so, and some of the things he says are a little disturbing.
They all tend to do that after a while. They get a little more, of course we all do, I mean, even I've gotten more, well, I don't know. I have pretty loose lips, but I'm trying to find that. Okay, he did a stream 17 hours ago on Matt Dillahunty, but then there was something about Jay Pasek, and I can't find it. Maybe he took it down. I don't know.
Yeah, the funny thing is, last night, the reason, I only listened for like, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, because like I said, I woke up in the middle of the night. I just clicked on it and listened to it for 5 minutes. I'm like, I'm not listening to this. This is ridiculous. But I guess what really caught my attention at that time was in the side chat. You had several people saying that they are not going to take the vaccine. They're going to refuse it, and that was what really disturbed me too. So, and it like kind of almost blocked out what the hell Argatha was talking about. There was something that he was talking about at the time when I jumped in, and it was disturbing. And for some reason, it like completely left my mind, because that, them talking about the vaccine, I was like, oh, I can't believe this. These people, they get crazier and crazier by the day.
Yeah. There are so many people that are saying they're not going to take the vaccine. It's just unbelievable. And it's like, if there's enough to screw us, and that thing mutates and comes back around, damn.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I think.
Because I don't know if our economy can take too many more hits, They better knock it off. And, it may mutate and come back around and be 90% lethal and wipe out 90% of us, right? And then I guess the housing costs will be cheaper. But I don't know.
Exactly. Fuck. Scary, isn't it?
Yeah,
really scary.
Is. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Conspiracy. Always a conspiracy. So who you drawing, Nathan? Somebody with hair. Oh, that guy. Jello. Is he here? He hasn't showed up today.
Yeah, he was. I thought, I haven't really been paying attention to side chat, but he
was very
here a little while ago. Yeah,
side chat. He posted a link, wrote an LOL, and then I guess he may be lurking.
Okay.
Yeah, he's over at Darth's, I'm sure.
Yeah, God,
I've got a little something. Going back maybe like a couple of weeks now, Danny, you were having a conversation with Maddox about the problem of evil.
Yeah.
And he gave the unknown purpose defense as a counter to what you were saying. And I understand that you were just trying to get to the principle of the matter about like what would count, as a problem if you grant certain premises and stuff like that. But I got a problem with that unknown purpose defense. I think that it's really destructive toward our ability to act as moral agents when you suggest that we're cognitively incapable of grasping what's right or wrong about a situation. And maybe we can dive into that a little bit if you guys want to.
Well,
That's
I didn't get that far, but there's a consequence of that view that I didn't even mention. The idea of your moral faculties, for lack of a better phrase, being compromised in that way would also, according to people that reply to that sort of argument, that what you're calling unknown purposes, or there's a name for it, it's called skeptical theism. Okay. Yeah. Skeptical theism for the viewers is just the idea that God has morally sufficient reasons for allowing evil that are not epistemically accessible to us. Okay, so when the Holocaust happened, that could have been for some reason that we may not now know about, or we can't know about, but nonetheless, there's a reason for it, and so it counts as non-gratuitous evil. Now, there are a lot of problems with that, but one of the problems that I think speaks to what you're saying is that leads to a very hard kind of skepticism called global skepticism, because then why not just think about that in terms of all of your perceptions, right? The idea is that God could be a God that could be deceiving you in terms of what you're perceiving for some morally sufficient reason, right? The computer in front of you may not exist on this account, right? So that's called a Pandora's box. And but yeah, the idea is that it leads to a severe kind of skepticism that not only are we misperceiving moral events, but we could be misperceiving anything on account that God could have sufficient reason to allow us to be deceived about the world.
Right.
I think that's a good point. My particular objection just rests within the realm of morality, in that I don't think that people such as Maddox and other Christian believers are interested. For example, if you're walking down the street and you see some guy mugging some young girl, automatically you would feel perhaps that you should step in and help out. It seems clearly to be a situation, and this is just a hypothetical, but it seems clearly to be a situation in which something immoral is going on. But if you have that stipulation in the background that there's some unknown purpose that God has, for allegedly evil things to take place, you're never really able to say this is an immoral situation and I should act in such a way that negates it or prevents it or overturns it in some way. And so that was my complaint, is that
I agree.
Yeah, it
I
destroys
agree
your
with you
capacity.
completely.
Yeah, so that was like my main beef with what he was suggesting, and I think it just leads down to the kind of severe skepticism that you're talking about, and unloads a Pandora's box within morality itself for us. But I also agree with you that a Pandora's box in terms of like global skepticism and stuff like that too.
No, yeah, I agree with you on the account that I don't see why they couldn't just logically conclude from the case that you just gave that the rape should happen because God has morally sufficient reasons for allowing it to happen that are inaccessible to you, epistemically inaccessible to you. I don't see anything wrong with the logic, but I don't think that, I think given that most Christians don't simply operate on, morally speaking, in terms of their faith, that it's yet a problem, but I could see why it in principle could be a problem.
I could see a position for God to allow evil, basically in that he created this race and subjected them to the game of life. And the game of life requires death, because without it, the game of life wouldn't be a game. Okay. So there has to be a beginning and an end, and we have to go through life, and then there's, certain limited resources and all of that. So he requires death. Well, what are his options for allowing death? When you turn 99, everybody dies on their 99th birthday. That would seem kind of like a weird world, right? So he has to allow for stochastic death, basically. And so I can see an argument for why a loving God would create a race and subject them to good and evil from a Buddhist standpoint, which accepts good and evil as part of basically is part of the same exact thing, that you cannot live, you cannot have joy without, evil and tragedy and death, that sort of thing. Do you see that?
I think
I'm
I've
a
heard
little.
that from Buddhism.
What's that?
I've heard that from like Buddhists.
Yeah, it's the yin yang thing. Basically they're parts of the same whole, that you can't have. When you think about it, if you could have everything that you want, like, okay, here's the thought process that Ellen Watts walks you through. It's like, okay, say you've been granted this magical ability that every night when you go to sleep, you wake up in a life that you choose, where you can have anything you want. So before you go to sleep, you choose what you're going to have. So the first night, we have party girls and a mansion, and second night we have the Bugatti, and the third night we're all powerful and we can fly around the universe and things like that. We go on and on and on for about 30 days, exhausting every possible, wonderful, absolutely great, perfect 100% thing we can have. And on the 30th day, you say to yourself, or you're sitting there trying to think of, what can I do now, because I've done all these other things. And you get this idea. You say, well, God, surprise me. And you wake up and you're you. You're in your life. Do you catch that? That's a surprise, that we're exactly where we want to be right now. We just don't know it.
Yeah, I could see the appeal to that. I just don't. I think you would agree with me that doesn't help Christian monotheism. But it seems that what you're saying is like something a little bit different.
Yeah, well, it would be it's sort of a greater idea of God. So Ellen Watts saw Christianity as being the ultimate game religion, where basically his Chinese box is, you could be a Buddhist. Okay, you're a Buddhist, you're a Zen Buddhist, and you decide to be a Christian. And me and my friend actually did this basically on his advice. And when you become a Christian, you basically put yourself voluntarily into this belief. You immerse yourself in the Christian belief, and you believe if you fuck up, if you think a bad thought, you're going to hell. If you don't do this, I mean, it's the ultimate game, and it's an exciting game because the stakes are very, very high, right? And so you go through this exciting game, and then, of course, when you die, you wake up, and God says, "Ha, we were just kidding." There are no consequences. It's just a joke. So that was Ellen Watts' idea of Christianity. I mean, in that way, you can kind of see sort of a case for the Christian game, that they play. I don't know. It's an idea. Trying to steel man Christianity a little bit.
It's just like if you're in any entertainment kind
exactly.
of
What do we do?
Yeah.
Like fucking the crazy thing is, like, I was camping with my sons when they were like, I don't know, 5 years old, and we arrived, and me and my wife worked for like fucking 24 hours doing nothing but making them dinner and building tents and setting all this stuff up. And then when the weekend was over, we were, God, that was fun, But then looking back, all we did was work our asses off to survive, And it's like, why do people go camping? Why do people play video games? Why do people subject themselves to these threatening things or dramatic movies or whatever? It's because good and evil are very, very interlocked. They're locked together mortally. So
it makes us feel something.
Yeah, you feel deep.
It gives us exhilaration and all that.
Yeah, like Christmas is a time when tons of people really get depressed, and suicide rates go up and everything. And I finally started seeing Christmas as this, and I realized why it affected us so emotionally. It was this like bittersweet time of remembering those who are no longer with us, and being with our family, and sometimes having little fights with our family, and just being immersed in life at a deep level. And it was bittersweet. It was both green and red. It had these two different shades of emotion to it. And once I realized the bittersweetness of Christianity or of Christmas, I started enjoying it more. And anyway, I don't know. So now I look forward to that, immersing myself in that bittersweet time.
This kind of reminds me. I'm talking to the department chair at Rice, tomorrow, and I think I'm going to focus on desires, weakness of will, addiction, at least in the last half. But
Yeah.
I'm entertaining questions from the chat, so you should definitely ask some questions from him.
Oh, is that tomorrow?
Yeah, that's tomorrow. Do you want his book so you can let me know if anything to focus?
Yes.
Okay. How do I send this to you then?
You got my email, right?
Yeah. Let me.
That'll work. Google will share it if, it's too big. But, God, I got to set a reminder. So what time is it?
I really like the book. He actually, remember I told you all of that stuff about like the reflective faculty versus the perceptual faculty when we're talking about like Christianity's distinction between spirit and flesh. Remember that?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, we did. And he has a similar distinction between reason and appetite, which is a similar distinction. And he's on the side of appetite, but there's a lot of nuances, and I can't read it all before tomorrow, but I'm definitely going to ask him about it. And it has to do with like weakness of will and mistakes and all of that. And it's so far the book, I think, and the book is approachable too. It's pretty approachable.
Okay.
So he's offering appetite as kind of an opposite to rational.
Yeah, but well, it's a lot. There's a lot of nuance, but he was talking about historically. There's this distinction, like in Plato and Aristotle, that there's the divine part of yourself and the beastly part of yourself. That kind of, think about Christianity being influenced by Plato, right? That there is that distinction that's talked about between your reason and what your appetite is, like your hunger and your thirst, and those are not really.
We're after trying to subdue the appetites in order to.
Yeah, I think so. But he's on the side. He argues on behalf of appetite, but he has a lot of nuances with it. So I'm really interested. I think people might be interested in it as well. But I'm going to bring it up.
What time is it that you're doing
At
this?
3 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll end the weather report before that.
Good idea.
Try to get everybody over there.
That's interesting that he wants to argue for appetite, because it's just kind of funny if you're going to draw this distinction between rationality and appetite, and then try to like rationally argue for appetite. It just sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah,
at the same time. Go ahead, Danny.
No, I'm right there with you, but I think there's a lot, of course, nuance, and I haven't read it all, so I don't want to jump to that kind of. I myself thought about what you just said, and I don't want to give a flippant response without understanding the view first. But I'm going to let him explain it.
Okay.
Well, because I mean, like I know that you and I differ pretty strongly on this whole dividing line between mind and body, which it's kind of the same. It's at least related to this idea that you're talking about here, between what you might refer to as like beastly instincts or the appetites and stuff like that versus like human rationality. And you're talking about how Christianity draws from Plato in that sense, but it's the same thing with the Stoics. The Stoics have the exact same kind of setup where they have this hierarchy of human nature, where you have your animal nature, and then you have your like higher human rational nature. And it's okay if you want to pursue a desire upon the basis of your animal nature, but only insofar as it doesn't conflict with your higher human rational nature. And I just got done talking with a former mentor of mine who's a Stoic, and we kind of got into a debate about it the other day. And one of the things that's interesting recently that I found is this book that I just sent Speed. It's called 7.5 Lessons About the Brain, where it criticizes that kind of organizational setup. So now, Danny, you're not a physicalist, so I mean, it barely touches anything that you would say, because 7.5 Lessons About the Brain will really be only like a hard-hitting criticism if you're a physicalist and you want to make these kinds of distinctions. So if people are interested in that,
he's a physicalist.
So if he's a physicalist, then like in 7.5 Lessons About the Brain, it discusses the triune brain theory, the idea that you have this reptilian part of the brain, and then later on you develop higher levels of organization that are human rational and stuff like that. And it criticizes that view as basically outdated and not founded upon modern neuroscientific research. And even though the Stoics and perhaps the gentleman that you're talking about right now, even though they don't hold to the triune brain theory in particular, nevertheless, they are trying to come up with like dividing lines of organization where you can have the appetites in one sphere and reason in another. And what I found interesting about this book is that it criticizes that to the extent where it says that's all phooey. It doesn't agree with how neuroscientific research is going these days. So it's a pretty good book. It's well read by the author herself, and you can find it for free on YouTube. Again, it's called 7.5 Lessons About the Brain.
Speed, can you let me share my screen for a second? I just want to share the book for everyone and kind of see, maybe get a sense of what we're talking about.
It's that
you put it up.
Faces of Desire.
Put her up.
It's called In Praise of Desire. It's
In Praise of Desire.
Is it not? Is it? Am I sharing or no?
No.
Oh, okay. Here it is. Okay, I hit the share button. Do you see it now? Do you see my screen?
I've heard of that book.
Oh wait, Chrome has. Oh man, I have to follow. Chrome is blocking me.
Really, Chrome.
Screen.
In Praise of Desire.
In Praise of Desire. That's the name of the book.
I've heard of that book before. When was it published?
I think 2008-ish. I don't remember. I have to check.
Yeah,
we'll check. We'll find out.
I used to have it in my Amazon wish list back in the day, but I haven't read it myself.
Oh, so interesting. Okay. Let me. The permissions on Chrome is being really stupid.
Oh yeah, here it is.
Okay. So
it's $32 in Kindle.
By the way, I have a brain bug on Saturdays. He has hangouts and he is collecting fossils in Mason Creek.
Is it going to be like a live on the road brain bug?
What's that?
Is it going to be like a live on the road brain bug?
I don't know. I'm not sure. He just sent me an email and then
cool.
I need to refresh. I'll be right back.
Okay, I don't think he's in chat anymore. Let's see. I don't see it.
He has a 3:30 thing that he's going to premiere.
Yeah, on Saturdays, I think he asked us to join. Let's see, uploads.
Well, what state does he live in?
I don't know. I'm not sure where that is.
I'll just show up at his house.
Yeah, we'll just show up.
I gotta run, y'all. I got some chores I gotta get done. So y'all enjoy your afternoon, and I'll catch up with y'all soon.
Okay, thanks for showing up.
Dessel.
Okay, it's bye, Dessel.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Okay, my screen should be up.
Okay. Yeah, I see your screen now.
Okay, so this is the book. Let's see. Was it 2008? Let me see. Did I miss the? No, where is it?
Is it like a college textbook?
No, I don't think so. Okay, it was 2014.
So this must be like a subject that's not very widespread because like the Kindle version is like $32.
Well, he's a kind of a he's not a he's kind of he's a kind of like a
niche.
Yeah, like I don't want to say definitely don't want to say no name. He's just not popular in the literature, but that there are a lot of books that are that way. Anyways, this is this is mostly about moral psychology. Okay, reason and appetite. Okay, so the idea is that so the central of this thesis. Okay, yeah. So the picture of a human being that we get from Plato and Aristotle is a divided creature, partly beastly, partly divine. Our animal heritage, beastly ourselves, has the capacities for hunger, craving, emotion, blah blah blah. We see in other animals. I mean, it looks very interesting. So I think he takes the side of appetite. I don't know where he's right.
Is he a philosopher or neuroscientist? What is
he does philosophy of mind and neuroscience. He does both.
Okay,
but I don't know if I don't know if he has a degree in neuroscience.
Okay.
But let's see. I wanted to get to
Yeah, he talks about defenders of both reason versus appetite, but I'm trying to get to his conclusion here.
So does he like do a critique of
Yeah,
Epicureans?
I don't know if he addresses it. I haven't read all of it, not even most of it. Let's just read this sentence, I guess. Once reason and appetite are properly understood, we hope our claims about the centrality of desires in moral psychology, especially about the role of desires in acting for moral reasons. No, that's not where he's. I forgot where he got the conclusion. I have to find it.
So was cognitivism typo or
a cognitivism?
No, he said cognitivism.
Oh, is that in this? I don't know where that is.
That was just above where you were, but
oh no, I have to look at it again. Anyway, here's what the topics are that he in this book. He talks about deliberation, of acting for reasons, love and care.
Does he talk about guilt?
Let's see. Credit and blame, virtue, inner struggle, addiction.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what he has to say about it.
Probably somewhere here. You want to see addiction really fast?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is this be? Sitting in a room, front seat car, make a settling noise against chill master. Need danger, sudden trembling.
Do you want to skip? This is his open. Do you want to just kind of skip?
Yeah, fine.
Okay,
it's good. Just go to the bang if you can.
Okay, let me see. Okay.
Addiction and will are really, really confused by most people. So.
Yeah. So blameworthiness is mitigated, but it is challenging to explain how blameworthiness is mitigated by the fact of addiction. An intrinsic desire to use cocaine or to have a particular characteristic of cocaine uses. Let's see. I'm trying to get to maybe a conclusion here. The science of addiction. Yeah, this just we're not doing justice to.
Yeah.
Here.
Let me take a look at it, and we can digest it after the talk. But
okay,
I've always been very interested in the conflict with willpower, and addiction. And some old dude explained it to me really well one time. He explained, and I think I told the story before, but there was a blizzard, and he ran out of alcohol, and so he got in his car and drove to the liquor store, and he broke down about halfway there in a snowbank. And so he managed to walk to the liquor store, get a bottle, and walk back, where he collapsed from hypothermia, and the police found him in the morning. But anyway, he said, that's willpower. And it was like, okay, so that's kind of a different twist on willpower, right?
Okay, I just put a link to Timothy Schrader's CV in private chat. I'm about to put in public chat.
Okay. Oh, he's got a CD.
CV.
Yeah. Okay. See, I just dated myself. Nobody knows.
I have a question. Do you find that a lot of people in this community? Obviously the community is very big, lots of people in it. But it seems to be a lot of people with issues like what you're talking about, addiction issues, or alcohol, drugs, prostitution. I got all kinds of things. It seems to be a lot of people. Or is that just the nature of because you're dealing with such a big community?
Like YouTubers, you mean? Or?
Yeah. Like
I have to say something about that. I think I do see a correlation between internet use and like
exactly
those sorts of issues. I don't know anything about it, but I definitely see a correlation.
I think people with those kind of issues have probably struggled, have probably become maybe have isolated themselves, and then they reach out into this community.
Yeah.
So you seem to have a lot of that. Like for instance, the reason why I brought that up is I think it was just yesterday or the day before, I was on Standing for Truth's stream, and there was a girl in there. I can't remember her name. It was Joe something. I've seen her, in chats before, and she put in there that she used to be a heroin addict and a prostitute. 26 years ago, and it's been 26 years, and she turned to Jesus.
Yeah.
And you seem to see a lot of those stories and a lot of that type of stuff in this community. So I see myself a correlation with that. Like, you know, people that have had those types of issues, you know, I kind of think about it and say, okay, you know, all the people that I'm dealing with here, who the hell am I dealing with? Okay, I don't really know any of you people, really, to speak of, right? You really don't. So I'm like thinking to myself, who am I really associating with? There's a lot of people. And when you see that kind of stuff with these people that have come from problems like that, of course, you know, people change, and that's a good thing. But it's like, you don't really know who you're really dealing with. Or
there's a lot of people still immersed in it too, that
right,
that have the habit of being on the internet all the time because they're coke addicts or whatever. It's the only contact they have. You know, sequestered coke addicts are pretty common, and alcoholics.
Right, right.
Yeah, I'm actually an axe murderer in my spare time. So, and how would you know? You know,
right,
it's not on my resume.
There you go.
Obviously, I'm not going to put that on my resume. So,
right.
Yeah.
And but, then, for instance, like I said about what I saw last night in Praise's, you know, chat, the people are, you know, talking about not taking the virus, and it's like, okay, am I associating myself with crazies, or what the hell am I? What am I really doing here?
Well, Praise's stream seems to be a goddamn crazy magnet.
Right. But then you go over to Standing for Truth, same thing. Like, it's like
a little bit crazy there too.
Yeah. So, yeah. But is there a correlation? Do you guys? Danny, you seem to think that you seem to agree. You mentioned that you thought you saw.
Yeah. And that's on Discord. Like, I've been on Discord since 2017, and well, the first thing is, like, now that I could get in trouble for this. So there's something specifically, not all Christians, but the Christians online are much different than the Christians that, you know, kind of almost mind their own business and go to church and, you know, go to Wednesday and do community service, and then kind of, you know, like, I don't know. I've noticed that the Christians on Discord, let's just say, right, are very dysfunctional. And I don't know, I'm not saying that Christianity is explanatory in that. I'm just saying something like there's a correlation between dysfunction and Christians on Discord. And that's very curious to me. And I kind of explained it in my head in terms of, okay, well, you know, if you're a Christian, it seems like your imperative is to go out in the world and evangelize and do community service. That was my concept. And then if you're just here all the time yelling at people over, like, the problem of evil or whatever, you know, and then I don't know. It seems like there's something wrong in how you construe it. That was my understanding. And then you have people like, do y'all know who Matt Bell is?
Who?
Yeah.
Matt Bell. He was a Christian that frequently defended. Oh, well, he didn't identify as a Christian, but he got caught for doing pedophilia streams over the Philippines. He was on the news.
Yeah.
And he was a Christian apologist, but, like, I don't know. There was something markedly different about the Christians I experienced on Discord. I'm not going to say YouTube because y'all know them better than I do. But on Discord and the Christians that I had encountered in everyday life, I don't know. So that kind of speaks to what you're saying, David.
There's some correlation between really hard, fundamental, judgmental Christianity and forbidden sex. Basically, you know, fetishes and stuff like that. There's a correlation there, and it has to do, and I think it has to do with the way our brains work. But I want to make another point about addiction. The very best cure for an addict is a born again religious experience or a born again Jesus experience. I mean, it's a quick cure, and it works on a lot of people, and that's why I'm an anti-theist, oddly enough, because it works because of something in our psychology. There's something about our brains that allow us to recover from addiction. And it has to do with spiritual experiences, and it has to do with this born again experience. And it's a complete meltdown of your former belief structure. and the adoption of a brand new structure. And as soon as you do that, then you have the power to get away from your addiction. And it's an amazing thing, and I've seen it over and over again. But because people associate it with religion, okay, and they don't understand that it's psychology, we cannot study it properly with neuroscience and find other ways to recreate this experience and to solve the problem of addiction for people. And that I think is something that we really need to get on, because all this murder and crap in our country, I mean, if you checked how many of those people are actually addicts, I think you're going to run around 90%, 90% of the murder in this town is over goddamn drugs, and shit like that. And then drunk driving and just all of that stuff. So, I mean, it's one of our hugest social problems, and we have the means to study this scientifically and to create treatment programs that are just levels above what we're doing right now. But we don't understand that spiritual experience and how that works to cure addiction. And there's also, that tie-in with forbidden things, forbidden sex. Basically, there's something in our brains that basically causes that to happen. And I think what it is that there's, I don't know, because these are just so evolutionary psychology stories, but I think we have something about aggression and stepping outside of boundaries in sex that it may have been selected for, and it's part of the makeup of our sexual system. That forbidden. I mean, why are fetishes such a big kick for everybody? I mean, that just seems dumb, right? But there's something in our psychology that causes that to happen, and I'd like to know what the fuck it is. Have I lost you?
Oh, still here.
Anyway, yeah, but that born again experience and how it relates to recovery from addiction is something that we really need to start talking about, and we need to start understanding beyond, God did it, because I don't believe that God did it. It's a psychological changeover in our minds, and it's very interesting. And I think we've actually, we have some evidence that it involves we even know what brain parts it involves. And so why in the hell can't we find a way to recreate this, that sort of thing? Dangerous maybe, because what it does is it melts down a lot of your previous belief systems, and you become completely open to adopting anything new that comes along, so it could be used by the government to do very bad things at the same time, right? I don't know. Crickets.
Yeah. No, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
I'm thinking about dinosaur gizzard stones, because Erica had a premiere last night about stones found inside the ribs of various dinosaurs because they had gizzards.
Yeah, wow. Which would make you wonder about birds, birds and gizzards. You can't look at a turkey and not understand that birds are dinosaurs. Especially a pissed off turkey.
Who's that guy who makes the claim that humans are fish? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Walker? Walking fish? We are fish.
Yeah. Well, but it was like a professional philosopher, I think.
You talking about like the water apes or whatever?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking y'all. Y'all keep up with this stuff. I don't.
I don't know, we actually are.
We don't know what you're talking about.
He makes a hard claim that humans are just fish, and
well, we are fish, basically phylogenetically. I guess we're what the fuck are we? Lobe-fin fish. That's kind of grandma and grandpa were lobe-fin fish, so that makes us still fish. That's why Walker does the walking fish thing. No, I haven't heard anything about that, Danny. I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, there was an aquatic ape theory that had a little traction in the pop science for a while, but other than that, I'm not sure of any fish claims.
Yeah, kind of like Kafai's mushroom ape, or what the hell's that theory that basically psychedelics made us intelligent or something like that? I don't know what the hell it is. There's a name for it. Somebody must know out in the chat. That you've heard this, right? That they believe that it was our eating mushrooms.
Yeah, eating mushrooms. Yeah, I've heard that, but
cause their brains to develop, sort of thing.
Yeah, I know the guy's been on Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
off and on, but I don't remember the guy's name.
The stoned ape hypothesis.
Stoned ape hypothesis. Yeah.
Yeah. Kafai likes that one. So, yeah, I don't think so.
There's another one. Kafai is a big Darth Dawkins fan.
What?
He hangs. Oh yeah, he hangs out with Darth all the time. He's been doing it much longer than. Well, he's constantly listening to Darth because if you say, I don't know, occasionally I click on that I told you guys about the Supreme Leader. He posts videos of Darth all the time, right? Live stuff. He posts live stuff and he posts previous stuff, right? And it's all Darth Dawkins. So if you go on any of those, Cafe is on there all the time.
Oh, shit.
But he doesn't actually. I don't think he actually enters the Discord. I'm not sure because I never go on the Discord. The only time I ever listen to it, I click on the Supreme Leader. If it pops up on my, my YouTube feed or whatever, I'll click on it and listen to it. But I can only take about 5 minutes of it. But anytime, and like I said, he does a lot of live, stuff live a lot. And anytime I've ever gone on him live, Cafe is there quite a bit. And that's how I discovered on Tangelo visiting there. All of a sudden I clicked on one of the live ones. I was listening for a few minutes and I discovered on Tangelo was there. I was like shocked, of course, like couldn't believe that he was going to start doing that,
Yeah, and he defended it yesterday as he is trying to fix Darth.
Yeah. No. Like I said, it's quite obvious. I think that he is getting that urge or that feeling that his arguments are not working or is not working as well as he'd like, and he's just looking for something else, something to change it up.
Yeah, it might be a newer, less friendly Otangelo come out of that unholy alliance. I don't know, but I didn't know that. But I know Kafai has a real problem with atheism. It's really, I've got about a gigabyte of documents of me and Kafai talking backstream, basically.
Really?
And I talked to him forever because he is so close to a secular Buddhist, but he can't explain what is different. He's got some sort of God idea out there somewhere, and I can never quite get him to nail it down. And we were going to go on Modern Debate, but he kind of backed out on me. Like a year ago, we were supposed to be on Modern Day Debate. It would have been interesting, but I've never quite gotten him to admit. Like he can never talk about his God. He always goes to, it's ineffable. It's like, well, unfuckable, ineffable. I don't know. Right. It's just like, I mean, it's impossible to talk to him until he at least offers you what the hell he's talking about, right? But he keeps going to this, oh no, you have to take a heroic dose and then you'll know. Well,
right. That's all he says every time, right?
I've taken a heroic dose of every fucking drug known to man, including aspirin. And I don't think he's right about that. But anyway,
that's just artificial.
He makes the case that Ellen Watts is not an atheist, right? Because Ellen Watts spoke out against materialism and atheism back in the 50s and 60s, but he did it lightly and he did it in such a way he was talking about these reductionist, materialist, idiots, right? And so if you read all of Ellen Watts, you never find any reference to any kind of woo, not any real woo. Ellen Watts just talks about the psychology of being human. And I've never, and so I always thought that Ellen Watts was, an atheist, or I would call him an atheist. He doesn't believe in any, deity outside and above the universe. But me and Kafai will go around and like I say, I went around probably 10,000 posts with that man and never got anywhere. I'm kind of done with it. So I don't know.
Yeah. Actually, you want to hear a kind of a funny story since we're talking about a little off topic, but I have to give Darth Dawkins the credit for me actually entering this, this community, to be honest.
Ooh.
Yeah, I actually have to give him credit because I kind of I'll try to tell you my path here, right? I kind of gave up on watching TV. Okay. You spend your time at night, you're relaxing, you watch TV, and all I did was fight with my wife on who was going to watch what on TV. Right. And I kind of got fed up with that. So I started just using my computer, right? And searching for things to entertain myself on the computer, right? So I end up, I eventually end up, and like I said, I enjoy science. I started watching a lot of things on physics. I like physics. End up watching a lot of, documentaries and, lectures, a lot of lectures from physicists, Sean Carroll, all the guys. And I eventually end up, you end up listening to Lawrence Krauss, Richard Dawkins, all those guys. And then it ends up into the God thing. And then somehow, eventually, I ended up to the atheist experience. I think I started getting into watching the debates because of, watching, William Lane Craig with Lawrence Krauss and those kind of things. And eventually, so that was kind of like the path that brought me here. And eventually I ended up watching, Matt Dillahunty, ended up getting to the atheist experience. And I used to watch that all the time, because it was fun to watch. You go back a couple of years ago, it was quite enjoyable. Still a little bit. But so then Darth Dawkins was on there, and this is going back a while ago. The very first times he was on there. And then that's what made me seek him out, because that was a big deal, even back then, the first time he went on. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to look this guy up. So I looked him up, and then eventually it leads me into this. I never knew this community even existed, really.
Yeah.
But it was really the atheist experience from there. And then it just, I branched off from there, and then eventually ended up into this whole community. So that was kind of my path.
Yeah, I got atheist experience and Eric Murphy, and then I went out to the Bat Cruise a couple of years and slowly broke into it. And then, and lately, atheist experience started to rub me wrong about a year ago or two. Yeah, about a year ago. And I don't know. Faithless Forum is actually in June 18th. And I've got a ticket to that. And I also have an airplane ticket from last year that I can recover. I think it's good for 2 years. So I'm going to be out there, hopefully. I have to figure out it says buy tickets, but I have to figure out how to dig up my ticket and use it from last year, because they promised to make them good. But a Faithless Forum, have you guys heard about that?
I have not. I haven't heard about
atheist, media people.
Yeah, all the YouTubers that are into atheism go out there and get together. It'll be interesting. Hopefully we'll all be vaxxed and we can I don't know how it's going to be, but last year we got canceled. So
yeah, this community is very large, though. You do have to say. I mean, I only scratched the surface. I don't really. Yeah. I'm sure everybody has their own interest and their own path. What channels they go to, and
1,000 rays of light, so. 1 million rays of light, or whatever, all coming together to, and it's been. I think it drives my education. Creationists drive my education because they keep digging up new topics that I can learn about and dig into. So it's all good. It all seems cool.
That's another reason why I kind of enjoyed. Once I really started getting into this community, my opinion, I think there's a lot of very intelligent people in this community, and that's the reason why I'm here. I mean, I don't consider myself all that intelligent. So, what's the saying? You surround yourself with intelligent people, you're bound to get smarter, right?
Yep,
So.
hopefully.
So speaking of doing that kind of stuff, how about guessing game? Like, what kind of bird is this?
Looks
It
like
looks
cross
close to a
between
peacock, but I don't
peacock
know.
and a turkey.
Yeah. There's
What is
a
that?
lot of exotic birds, so it's pretty hard to tell.
Does it start with an E?
What is it?
It starts with a C.
Not a
Right.
cockatoo.
I don't know.
It's a crow.
Yeah. We give up.
What is it?
Cassowary.
A what?
Cassowary. Never heard of it.
How do you spell it? Cassowary. Oh, is that the one that kicks the shit out of you in Australia? Is that?
I think so.
They showed this. They kick you in the gut, like they're like
Yeah.
karate masters, you know. Oh, cool. Cassowary. Okay, guys.
You ever have roosters chase you around, Speed? You probably some.
Oh hell yeah! Oh, my roosters used to chase my little sister.
Yeah.
So I, when I was a teenager, and we had these roosters running around the yard, and they would chase her and bite her, peck at her, So
Yeah.
I would go and get the rooster to chase me, and get him running really fast, and I turn around and lift my boot up, and he goes smack. And so I trained all our roosters not to chase humans, and it took me a while, but yeah.
Oh, I guess I spelled the cassowary wrong. It's cassowary.
So,
Oh yeah, okay, I got it. Yeah, cool. I'll look it up.
yeah, we had a rooster that scratched a little kid one time.
Oh yeah, they're mean.
Little kid came in. It was probably 2 or 3 years old, and a friend of my father's, and he showed up with a little kid, and we had a rooster that was mean, and he went right. The kid was playing in the yard, and the rooster came up and scratched him in the face, got him pretty good, with the claws, and needless to say, he was dinner that night. So.
Yeah, my daughter Faye somehow turned that around. She's chasing chickens around. They were afraid of her.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, I told you I was a coon hunter when I was younger.
Yeah.
And we had dogs. We had, coon hounds spread out all along the yard, and you used to have to go around and feed them, of course, because they were spread out all over the place. And then you had to deal with the rooster. As a little kid, I'd be going out and feeding the dogs, and the damn rooster would be chasing you around the yard and trying to scratch you and peck at you. And that was...
They're dumb enough that if you turn around real fast and hold your boot up, they can't really control their impact, and the feathers fly, and they quit doing that after a while. So
yeah, I used to carry a stick, and I just whack them, and they'd run away. Yeah,
fucking geese though. I got bit on the back of my calf by a goose. I will never forget how painful that was. So my mom used to take me when I was a little tiny boy to somebody's house, and they always had geese, and she'd want me to go out and play in the yard instead of sit in the car. And I'd spend most of my time up on top of the car because I got bit once by those little bastards. They're mean. Oh, I used to get I lived in a hotel, and I was really poor, and I would put on my backpack every morning, walk to the junior college, to go to these engineering classes, and fucking geese alongside of the Silver Lake was it never froze because it was part of the water plant or the heat plant in Virginia, Minnesota. And these goddamn geese, I'd have to hit them with my backpack. They'd have a whole flock of geese chasing you, trying to bite you while you're walking to school. But my backpack turned out to be a really good weapon for geese. So lots of feathers involved in that.
Oh.
Anyway,
and he didn't even say goodbye. How rude! I didn't even notice that he was gone.
Well, he felt that I want to end the stream, so
yeah,
he just took his cue. Yeah,
I almost started something with him, like not to start an argument, but I was kind of curious. When he first came in, he seemed to have a hair across his ass. You saw how he jumped in. Yeah. He was very aggressive and very mean, and then he seemed to calm down. He had that long conversation with Russell, And
Yeah.
And then after that, after he left, he had a very cordial, good
Yeah.
conversations with everybody, and he seemed to be. And I was almost going to ask him, but I think that would have triggered him if I said,
Yeah.
Why all of a sudden are you being so pleasant and having good conversations now, and you seem to have a hair across your ass, 20 minutes ago. But
I'm not sure if the kid really understands why I put him in the back room when I do, but I do because, and then I take him back out, and he's just, he comes in at 100 miles an hour, and I put him in the back room again, and then eventually, yes, you can, Jefferson. You can join us back room. I will put a link out because we're going to go off air in a minute here. Okay. So,
yeah, I thought if I brought that up, everything was going so nice. We were having good conversations, and I was going to say that to him, but I figured that would trigger, and he would have got mad, and then it would have triggered something. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate him on this channel, and like I say, he's a really good philosophy teacher, and he adds a lot of spark to us that we wouldn't ordinarily have. But sometimes I just got to put him in the back room. But I'll tell you, putting him in the back room is one of my favorite fucking hobbies.
Yeah, I'm sure it is a little fun to play with him.
Yeah. So we're going to end the broadcast. I think you wanted to talk back room anyway, Jefferson, right?
Yeah, thanks. I just had a question for you.
Okay, so we're ending for the day. Goodbye, crew. Anybody want to say anything?
Stay curious.
No.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Goodbye, cruel world.